So episode 6 of Classroom of the Elite was a really interesting episode that paces it pretty well while doing a lot. I would divide this episode into 3 central points. There is the first point, which is overcoming the Class C to Class D scenario. The second part being the Sakura and the rapist, who was that clerk from last week, who some people tried to say, like, what if it was just her being scared of the guy and he wasn't actually that crazy? So that puts that to rest because he's a creepy and just horrible, despicable piece of shit. And then the third part, which is the ending content with our main character and learning a bit more about who he is and why he hides his abilities. And I thought the way they paced it and structured it was actually really impressive. First thing I want to say, I actually really like how they overcame this ordeal between the two classes, because essentially our main character is the guy, he figured out how to solve this. He knew that essentially we need to make them think that they were filmed by school cameras. Well, if they already had the evidence, why would they even do that trial? Well, the school would want us to be able to solve it by ourselves. The entire point of this school is for us to be able to prove why we're the best and how we can rise above each other, so it's just a test. So essentially they hook up fake cameras to make these goons think that they were filmed, and essentially that the only way for both of them to overcome this ordeal is to basically, they need to pull out their complaint and say this never happened. And if both classes say this never happened and they pull out their complaint, then essentially the school can't say that it happened anymore, and essentially this trouble goes away and both classes can just go on their business, which is a really smart way to do it. It's a very easy solution, but how it's built on this lie foundation and how our main character is basically just implanting the idea in Horikita's mind of how to figure out how to make fake evidence and things like that. It was really interesting to see how they overcome it and just the conversation that was happening, and how essentially, even though we know that there is no cameras in those hallways, it was really interesting seeing how they were using that as like a bluff card, and I really enjoyed that. But the stuff that's the most interesting to me is actually how they handled the stuff with Sakura. Sakura has been a really interesting character ever since last week. I really liked what they ended up doing with their character, and I'm glad to see that they didn't have like all their cards on the table with her character. Rape is a very difficult thing to deal with in any form of storytelling because it's a very disgusting thing to even tackle, even when it's fiction. And I feel like anime, for the most part, gets it wrong the most out of most mediums, because I feel like they play it off in a very just disgusting way. The most recent example of this would be Bastard Magic Instructor from either last season or the season before. They had this rape scene and they played it off as a joke, which I found completely disgusting because rape is not a joke. And the only series that really comes to mind when I can think of an anime doing a rape scene or an attempted rape scene correctly is Kar no Kyokai, one of the films that has a character deal with rape. And it's disgusting to look at, it's horrible and just hard to even watch and stomach, but that's what rape is. And if you're going to use it, you can't make this a comedy thing or anything like that. So to have Sakura almost get raped in this episode, and have this really kind of like reflect like she's scared to be herself, that's why she covers up her body and only has it appear online, and now she has this stalker, someone who she feels she can't even be safe in her protected form, and she's almost violated in the worst possible way. And at no point does this scene feel like it's fan servicey. There's never a shot that I felt like it was trying to appeal to fetishes. Like, there is a close-up of her top leg when the guy's trying to unbutton it, but it never feels like they're enhancing the breasts or anything else like that. It feels like they were just trying to make the scene disgusting, and when our main character comes in, and the way they solve it by taking his photo, pointing to security cameras, the cops arrest the guy, and how it actually allows her to come forward, because if that would have happened, if she truly would have been violated completely, I doubt she would be able to be herself, but because Aino came in and saved the day, she pretty much feels comforted by him and was able to embrace herself. And I thought how they were able to handle that, it was hard to watch. Like, I did get squeamish kind of watching because I don't like that topic. Like, it's something that I don't feel like you can take the topic of rape and make it come off as not disgusting, because that's what rape is. It's disgusting. I feel like how they used it to benefit her character, as she is someone who fears people, but also they didn't play it off as fan service, has my respect, because really only Kar no Kyokai in my mind has really comes up where I can think of something that has used the topic of rape or attempted rape and not have it come off as just disgusting fan service or a cheap comedy moment, and I respect that. But the other thing with this episode that I really enjoy is we're learning a bit more about Aino, and it pretty much gets brought up by one of the teachers, the teacher of Class D. Pay attention to him because everyone in Class D is essentially broken, and the one who's most broken is our main character. And why is that? And I feel like people are going to dismiss this, say, oh, he was in some sort of like, you know, experimental facility and that broke him, he's some like test subject, he was a lab rat, and people are going to brush that off as being cliche. Cliche doesn't equal bad. When cliche is bad is when that it just uses like something that is very cliche, a topic, and that's all it is. But Classroom of the Elite over the past 6 weeks has done nothing really cliche. Like, when they do introduce a character trope, they've done something interesting with it. So I have absolute total faith that if they do go the whole experimental, he was a child put into this facility who was like tormented and tested to be the perfect human, I'm perfectly fine with that because I know they're going to do something interesting with our main character, because they've proven time and time again that they aren't just going to be typical high school bullshit with this anime, and I have total faith of that. So I don't think people should dismiss what we saw in that vision there at the end of the episode as being just, oh, predictable and nothing that interesting. We haven't even seen what they're going to do with it, only just a bit of a hint. I have 100% total faith that this will be fine, and I think it would also make sense why he's trying to stay at Class D and just trying to stay out of the forefront. As if he was experimented on, it would make sense that he doesn't want to be someone perfect and admired. He wants to be someone no one really looks at because of what happened as a child. That would make sense. But I have to say, this episode was fantastic. How they paced the story and just the character interactions and also development with Sakura, things like that, was amazing. Now Horikita is going to be paying a much more closer eye onto our main character, even though he did threaten her and say, I will help you rise to Class A, but don't ever ask me about my past. It's going to be interesting how the remainder of the season is going to reflect on that final conversation at the end of this episode. But as always, the presentation, the voice acting, everything really feels highly polished, highly just really crafted and cared for. I feel like this series is just definitely the best new anime of the season at this point for me. I really enjoyed this episode, and I'm dying to watch episode 7 next week. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. What did you think of this episode, and how excited are you for next week? Let me know, and before you leave, smack that like button to show your support. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.